The teaser trailer for the DCU's Lanterns TV show on HBO Max has officially released. Honestly, this was supposed to come out on the 5th of March, but the trailer got leaked online, and so DC had no choice but to release the trailer a whole day early. Which, good for them, they were on top of it, they saw it leaked, and was like, you know what, let's not wait, let's just release it now so more people can watch it. Which, honestly, very good. Now, in terms of the trailer itself, it looks really nice. Now, obviously, everyone has kind of been mixed over these trailers. A lot of people saying that it's too dark, too bleak. We don't see enough of the constructs or at all. We don't see the suit, or the suits, the one instance of the suit does not look good. And I'm going to get into my thoughts on this as well as breaking down what this teaser is giving us. But I do want to remind everybody that this is a teaser trailer. They're not going to show us everything and bombard us with a ton of information and the biggest scenes potentially for us to look forward to just yet. This is a tease, an appetizer to give us a bit of an inkling for what at least the tone of this show is going to be and the generalization surface level of what the plot could potentially be based off these select scenes. We will definitely see more of the suits and constructs in the main trailer and especially in the main show. Just because it's our first real tease at this stuff does not mean that's all we're getting. We put way too much stock into the first initial trailers of anything we see nowadays that we are immediately disappointed or too hyped for whatever comes next. So please wait for the real trailer before we start having doom and gloom conversations about the show not being a Green Lantern show. But that's enough of this whole big intro. Let's just go right into discussing the events of the trailer. So essentially this trailer gives us a look at John Stewart and Hal Jordan as Hal is beginning to mentor John Stewart, and from the trailer he's been mentoring him for about 2 months, with John feeling that he is ready to put on the ring and truly become a Green Lantern, but Hal is still kind of putting him through the ropes and testing him. Like, we still got that car scene where he just jumped out the car while it's still driving to have it go over a cliff while the Green Lantern ring is still on the dashboard, and based off of the cut to later, John managed to use the ring to save himself. Now obviously that's gonna be our first real instance of seeing the Green Lantern ring once the show comes out, which will definitely be episode 1. But the big thing about this show is that it is a true crime-esque detective cop show, and this is a more grounded Green Lantern story. There have been, while I have not read every single Green Lantern comic out there, I'm rectifying that with every chance I get to read more Green Lantern obviously, there have been some grounded Green Lantern stories that will take place on Earth, because Green Lantern, Hal Jordan especially, does have Earth-based villains like Hector Hammond for one massive example, but a more grounded approach to the Green Lantern formula is not new. So having this be a buddy cop detective show is a nice way to ease us into the Green Lantern era of the DCU, because Green Lantern is probably the biggest cosmic side of DC. That is the primary focus of Green Lantern. That is where he is the most of the time. And with the Green Lantern Corps on Oa with the Guardians, we expand out and build the wider universe of DC. That's where the vast majority of the lore and world building of the DC universe comes from, primarily the sci-fi cosmic side of things, obviously. But with this show, we are at least getting us more accustomed to these two lanterns specifically, with John Stewart being the real POV character. He's a new guy, and he's being trained by one of the best, and the original Green Lantern of Earth, Hal Jordan. And throughout this trailer, we see the two of them kind of go back and forth and butt heads, with John basically not taking accustomed to Hal's way of training him, even saying that Hal is getting way too old, and that he has to step aside, and that despite Hal, being a Green Lantern and the ult is to save people, John says that he can do a much better job than Hal. Now, obviously, there's going to be people out there that are thinking that this is John disrespecting Hal Jordan, the show disrespecting Hal Jordan, but the show does seemingly show that Hal is, well, a veteran and knows what he's doing, or at least is doing things the way he does. And since John Stewart is new and has only known Hal for about 2 months, he does not know the Lantern legend that he probably is in the show for the Green Lantern Corps. And this is how most, next generation being taught by the previous types of series tend to go. This is how a lot of rookie stories go. They have no real respect or real viewing of how the person that's mentoring them is doing how they're doing. They believe they can do a better job. And I believe this is going to lead to some conflict between the two of them. Well, they'll potentially get separated, and it'll cause some actual conflict with the show and the wider mystery that we're getting into. Now, the main meat of this trailer is taking place in a small town out in the countryside, where there seems to be some sort of mysterious, potentially illness, as we see in a football field scene, while also a few scenes of craters of something crashing nearby in this town, maybe even some buildings, and later on with the town seemingly in shambles from some sort of disaster or something crashing. This will be the big mystery that will lead up into the wider story of the DCU that James Gunn and the team behind Lanterns has been teasing us about. And there have been a wide variety of people theorizing what this could be, from setup for the Black Lanterns, which if we're getting the Black Lanterns right off the bat, that is you gotta do a lot of rule building aspects before we bring in the Black Lanterns for the Blackest Night event, because that has to be like a decade in the making, if I'm being honest with you. Or it could be something like the beginnings of the Sinestro Corps, because we know Sinestro is going to be in this show in some way, shape, or form. Perhaps he will be the final big bad and is primarily the main guy that is setting things up in this small town to not only potentially create the Sinestro Corps in this universe, but also it's a way to kind of, well, since Hal Jordan's getting old, finally kill Hal Jordan after their long history and their grudge against each other. It would make sense for that to be the case and for John to pick up the mantle of Hal at the end of all of this. And who knows, we might get teases of Parallax, and maybe that'll be the storyline we lead into for the DCU, but that's an entirely separate video for me to discuss at a different time. Either way, we are in a small town with some mysterious goings on. Some extraterrestrial shit is happening in the town, and Hal and John are going to investigate into this. Because remember, while the Green Lanterns are always out in space, Earth is their home and the place where they originate from. And Green Lanterns end up patrolling different sectors of the wide DC universe, and Earth is part of that whole sector that the Green Lanterns of Earth are from. So it makes sense for them to investigate stuff on Earth. It's not always going to be in space, but that is the majority of Green Lantern stories. There are some Earth-based stories, and based off of this, there is definitely potentially some silent invasion happening, or perhaps something ancient is coming to the surface, maybe from old Roswell aliens or some stuff like that. At the point, it doesn't seem like we know where this is, but based off of, there being sheriff's office, people on horseback, in seemingly desert-like areas and mountainous regions, we might be somewhere in the south for all we know. And based off of the conflict that's later on happening towards the end of the trailer, where with everyone running around and trying to escape somewhere, even Hal interrogating somebody, there's definitely some deeper meanings of what's happening in this town. Obviously, like I said, it could be Sinestro, it could be some other alien force just feeding into perhaps the dark thoughts or insecurities of members of this town, feasting on them or manipulating their minds to lead into some grander threat. Heck, for all we know, this could be just introducing the Manhunters in this universe right off the bat, or at least the concept of the Manhunters. For those of you who don't know, the Manhunters are kind of like the prototypes of what the Guardians of the Universe want to do in terms of protecting and governing the universe and stuff like that from destruction and evil and all that, but they had to get rid of them because they just basically started to try and destroy basically everything. That would be a neat thing to add into this. But either way, this town is having its own stuff going on with Hal and John interfering, with the sheriff now wanting them to, well, interfere at all because it's her town. And this type of conflict happens a lot in shows like this. Out of town detectives from potentially the government end up coming to the small town with mysterious goings on. Local law enforcement don't want any outside help because they feel like it is their responsibility to do so, and then conflict arises. Now, this trailer does have a lot of high octane scenes placed into this, but I'm going to address one big thing. We don't see lantern constructs in this trailer at all. We even see a scene of Hal Jordan jumping into the sky to fly, but he's not covered in the standard Green Lantern aura. Now, this could mean a number of things. The very obvious thing that people should think about from this trailer is that they're not going to give us what a Green Lantern can do in the baseline trailer of the show. They're saving this for when they're able to show more of what the plot of this show is going to be and give us specific scenes with the Lanterns using their rings for specific things, like perhaps John saving himself from falling off a cliff. At the end of the trailer, we see Hal beginning to create a construct with the ring glowing when he's interrogating a potential suspect. There are going to be specific moments where the rings are going to be acting. Based off of this trailer, it seems that John hasn't gotten his ring yet, so he will seemingly be powerless. And maybe they'll be sharing a ring, as it seems like Hal will have to give his ring to John as a literal passing of the mantle thing so he can actually retire due to how old he's getting. And that will explain why we're seemingly going to have a sparing amount of constructs depending on the scenes and the situation. Heck, Hal could also be showing John how to handle situations without the ring, because as we all know, in a lot of Green Lantern stories, there's going to be moments where the ring runs out of power or the ring is separated from their user at some way, shape, or form in any mission. That possibility is always possible and happens so many times in a Green Lantern story to the point where you have to figure out what to do without the ring itself. There are moments where you can will the ring to you, but until then, you're powerless and you have to figure out situations without the ring. That could be one of the key lessons that Hal is going to be teaching John in this show. And I would be really happy if that's the case, because while the rings are powerful, it's the Lantern themselves, the person wearing the ring, that gives it its power and its usefulness, with everybody using different constructs based off their own imagination and ways of visualizing things. So I feel like if that's where the show is going in terms of mentoring John to be the next Green Lantern, I think that would be perfect. And obviously, if Sinestro is obviously going to be in the show, or whether it be in the present or flashbacks to Hal's time as a Green Lantern when he was a rookie, if we get flashbacks like that, well, we're definitely going to be seeing full-on Lantern fights with constructs in the show, especially in the finale, because if there's going to be one big fight, because this is a Lantern show and Sinestro's in it, there's going to be a big-ass fight. And that'll be, well, where we will potentially see Hal and John showcasing the full capabilities of what a Green Lantern can in fact do. But they're not the only Green Lanterns in the show. Nathan Fillion's Guy Gardner is going to be in this show as well. To the extent of how long he'll be in the show and what his overall role in the show is going to be, I got no clue. It might just be a quick cameo for all we know, or he'll probably just show up in like a flashback when Hal is introducing Guy to John to be his replacement, essentially, for all we know. That could be the full extent of Guy Gardner, but if Guy Gardner is going to be in the show, he's definitely going to do a lot of stuff with the constructs, because that's just Guy's character, and he will do a lot of funny stuff with the ring. But yeah, having this be a lesson where you have to rely on yourself without the ring in specific situations, and there only being one ring for Hal and John to utilize, would explain why there's so many scenes in this trailer with them not flying, and why they're driving cars, and why they're running away with everything. That explains a lot of why that is the case. That, and also, you can't just keep flying around overhead all the time if you're doing an investigation on Earth. You're gonna have to get down on the ground and potentially use the ring to help scan for potential clues and have boots on the ground in case you miss something. Because again, they are intergalactic police, so they have to do actual investigating themselves as well. So that accounts for a good chunk of what we've seen in this trailer and what some of the complaints will be. But the last complaint that people have is probably one of the bigger ones, at least at this point, and that is the suit we see at the end of the trailer, Hal Jordan's suit. Yeah, it's not that great of a suit. The color is very dark, it's not super green, but there are a number of ways for this to be interpreted. One, it's Hal's very first Green Lantern suit, and it'll light up once he actually uses the ring with it, and that's when we'll see the green aura, because the suit was made to kind of help bring out the aura more into the suit for all we know. Or it's just his older suit when he first became a Green Lantern. That's the standard uniform, at least at the time when he became a Green Lantern, and he has more modern suits as well, but it also seemingly looks like something that a pilot could wear, which could be a nice homage to Hal Jordan's time as a fighter pilot, and that is going to be a way to kind of bring his side and merge it with the Green Lanterns as a way to kind of honor his past as a pilot and his time as a Green Lantern. And that's kind of him symbolizing what kind of a lantern he himself is, what kind of a hero he is, taking two sides of his life and merging them together into that suit. Plus, if it is an older suit, it makes sense why the colors are kind of fading away and are dimmer in comparison to potentially we'll see a more modern, up-to-date suit that's more green, that's more sleek, which I do hope it is the case, because at least this suit is Hal's and Hal is retiring, so that could just be like his older suit, and that's why it looks the way it does. Now, obviously, this is all just one big tease for the real trailer that we'll probably get within the next couple of months. The show does come out in August thanks to the teaser trailer confirming its release, so we do still have at least 5 months for one more trailer and then a premiere trailer until the actual first episode drops on HBO Max. So we have a lot of time to theorize and think about what could happen next, and for more effects to be polished out for the main trailer. But that's really all I gotta say for you guys today. Those are my thoughts on the trailer, what a lot of stuff we saw could mean, and what could happen in the show, as far as I know, from the Green Lantern knowledge that I currently have at this moment. But let me know what you guys think of this trailer in all honesty. Are you looking forward to the main trailer to potentially see more of what the show give us, or have you already lost faith from a literal 2-minute teaser that won't even showcase what the show can truly be about? Let me know in the comment section down below, and let me know if you want to see me do more DCU stuff. I'm planning to talk more about the MCU with Doomsday coming in, and I'll probably make some stuff for a Supergirl movie at some point during the summer as well, so look forward to all of that. I have a lot of stuff planned for this channel outside the comic side, and I do want to talk about the shows and movies as much as I possibly can, so let me know if you want to see more of this.
Have you ever talked with the other Lanterns?
I'm the only human. They're aliens. One of them's a fucking squirrel.
Hey, really cool nod to Chip the Squirrel from the Green Lantern Corps. It would be honestly really fun if at the very end there is a post-credit scene where Chip shows up and brings John, maybe with Kilowog, to Oa for his final assessment as a Green Lantern. That would be really fun to see, and then we can transition into a Green Lantern Corps TV show or movie with John as the sole main character to see the rest of the DCU. That'd be really fun. But also, I just want to see Chip in live action. That'd be hilarious, and it'd piss off the people that complained about Superman saving a squirrel in the movie, because my god, are they going to be fuming when they see a squirrel Green Lantern. That'd be hilarious.